Japan, known as the land of the rising sun, stands today as one of the most advanced nations on Earth. Neon cities, bullet trains, robotics, and global corporations define its modern image. Yet behind this futuristic surface lies a history shaped by isolation, warfare, spiritual belief, and relentless adaptation. For much of its past, Japan did not seek to engage with the outside world. In fact, for over 200 years, the country deliberately cut itself off from foreign influence. This period of isolation, known as sakoku, would shape the Japanese mindset in ways that still echo today. But Japan's story begins far earlier. The first peoples and the birth of the state. Human beings have lived in the Japanese islands for more than 40,000 years. The earliest settlers arrived from mainland Asia, bringing with them hunting tools, primitive farming techniques, and eventually metalworking skills. Over centuries, these small communities grew into permanent villages and tribal societies. By the 3rd century AD, political power began to concentrate around the Yamato region in southern Japan. This marked the birth of the imperial system. The emperor of Yamato was recognized as the emperor, believed to be descended from the sun goddess Amaterasu. This divine origin gave the emperor spiritual authority, even when real political power would later fade. Japan's early development was heavily influenced by China and Korea. Buddhism arrived in the 6th century, transforming religious life and philosophy. Chinese writing systems, political structures, and Confucian ideas were adopted and adapted to local traditions. In 794, the capital was permanently established in Kyoto, beginning the Heian period. This era became a golden age of court culture. Poetry, calligraphy, architecture, and refined rituals flourished. However, while the elite lived in luxury, the imperial government gradually lost control over the countryside. Rise of the samurai and the shogunate. As central authority weakened, local landowners formed their own private armies. These warriors became known as samurai. Loyalty, discipline, and martial skill became core values, eventually forming the basis of Bushido, the way of the warrior. By the late 12th century, two powerful clans, the Taira and the Minamoto, fought for dominance. After years of civil war, the Minamoto clan emerged victorious. In 1192, their leader was appointed shogun, becoming the military ruler of Japan. Although the emperor remained in Kyoto, real power now belonged to the shogunate. Japan had entered an age of military government that would last nearly 7 centuries. The Mongol invasions. In the 13th century, Japan faced one of the greatest threats in its history. The Mongol Empire, under Kublai Khan, demanded that Japan submit as a vassal state. When Japan refused, the Mongols launched massive naval invasions. In 1274 and again in 1281, enormous fleets approached Japanese shores, but both times powerful typhoons destroyed the invading forces. These storms became known as kamikaze, or divine winds, believed to be sent by the gods to protect Japan. Though victorious, Japan's defenses drained the treasury. Samurai went unpaid, loyalty declined, and internal instability grew. The Age of Chaos. Over time, the shogunate weakened and Japan fell into a long period of civil war known as the Warring States era. Regional warlords called daimyo fought constantly for land and power. Alliances shifted, betrayals were common, and violence became routine. In 1543, everything changed. The arrival of the Europeans. A Portuguese ship accidentally landed in Japan, introducing the first Europeans. With them came firearms, Christianity, and global trade. European muskets transformed Japanese warfare almost overnight. Daimyo who adopted guns gained huge advantages. Within decades, hundreds of thousands of firearms were in use across Japan. Christian missionaries converted thousands, including powerful lords. For the first time, Japan became part of a global network. One warlord, Oda Nobunaga, used gunpowder weapons to dominate his rivals and begin unification. After his assassination, Toyotomi Hideyoshi completed the unification. Tokugawa and the closed country. In 1600, Tokugawa Ieyasu won a decisive battle and became shogun. He established his government in Edo, modern Tokyo. The Tokugawa shogunate brought peace after centuries of war, but peace came at a price. To prevent rebellion, the Tokugawa imposed strict social controls, crushed Christianity, and isolated Japan from the world. In 1639, Japan officially closed its borders under sakoku. Foreigners were banned. Japanese citizens were forbidden from leaving. Only limited trade with China, Korea, and the Dutch was allowed. For over 2 centuries, Japan lived in isolation, yet internally it prospered. Cities grew, literacy expanded, art, theater, and philosophy flourished. Samurai became bureaucrats, merchants grew wealthy. Japan was stable, but frozen in time. The end of isolation. By the 19th century, Western powers had transformed the world with industry and empire. Japan, still feudal, was falling behind. In 1853, American warships arrived in Tokyo Bay. Their cannons made resistance impossible. Japan was forced to open its ports. This humiliation shattered confidence in the shogunate. In 1868, reformist forces restored power to the emperor in the Meiji Restoration. The Meiji Revolution. Emperor Meiji launched a radical transformation. Feudalism was abolished. Samurai lost their privileges. Railways, factories, schools, and a modern army were created. Japan studied the West obsessively, copying everything from constitutions to uniforms. Within decades, it became an industrial power. Japan defeated China in 1995, then shockingly defeated Russia in 1905, the first Asian nation to defeat a Western empire in modern times. Japan had arrived on the world stage. Empire and World War. In the early 20th century, Japan pursued empire. Korea was annexed, Manchuria was invaded, war with China resumed. Facing Western sanctions, Japan allied with Germany and Italy. In 1941, Japan attacked Pearl Harbor, drawing the United States into World War II. At first, Japan conquered vast territories across Asia and the Pacific, but eventually American industrial power overwhelmed Japanese forces. In 1945, atomic bombs destroyed Hiroshima and Nagasaki. Japan surrendered. Defeat and rebirth. After the war, Japan was occupied by Allied forces. The military was dismantled. Democracy was introduced. The emperor renounced his divine status. Instead of empire, Japan chose economic growth. Factories were rebuilt. Technology industries exploded. By the 1960s, Japan had become the world's second-largest economy. From ruins, Japan rose again. Conclusion. Japan's history is a cycle of isolation and openness, tradition and transformation, destruction and rebirth. Few nations have reinvented themselves so many times, yet remained unmistakably themselves. From divine emperors to cyberpunk megacities, Japan's greatest strength has always been its ability to adapt without forgetting who it is.